I'm usually just like scanning Twitter and looking at the news while you talk. Usually.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hmm.
I'm usually flexing my muscles while you talk.
Putting on a gun show for yourself.
Yeah, I parked the car over there.
Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Episode 123 of Fathers of the Grind is here. My name's Tim Nestor, and I'm here with Derek Teague. Hello, Topless Derek.
I was gonna say it's Topless Tuesday on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm real excited about that. It's also Taco Tuesday on a Sunday as well. So.
Right. Yeah. I'm only giving you a pass because you're in Florida, and I'm assuming the temperature there is pretty high. It's pretty warm out here. So
it's pretty muggy.
Yeah. So I assume that's the reason that you have less clothes.
Well, yeah. I'm just in my underwear right now. FYI. If you'd like me, do you want me to move the camera? I mean, the viewers won't see it, but you can see it.
I'm good. I actually just minimized the window. I'm just going to listen to audio now.
I'm just going to slide the camera right now. Real quick. Just real quick.
Pass. I almost said hard pass, but I realized there's going to be some innuendo there. Just
hard pass.
Just pass. Regular pass. Oh, boy. All right. So have you been able to do much gaming this past week? Do you have much to say about what you've been playing?
I'm not ready, boy. I'm not ready, boy. I played God of War for like maybe an hour, and that was it. I didn't do anything else. But we can talk about God of War for a little bit.
Okay. Well, we actually going to hold off on too much more God of War talk. We did a lot of it last week.
Yeah, it would just be real quick.
And then
finish the game.
I did finish the game, so I got to the end credits. I love the way they did the end credit, the final. I guess you can call it a couple of chapters in this. I'm not going to say too much, but I'm just going to say I love the way that they ended this game, and it clearly is set up for more, at least deep story-based DLC, if not a full-fledged sequel, which I would fully anticipate. So. Really, really good. My favorite game of the year. It's not even close right now. I really enjoyed Far Cry 5. Love Monster Hunter World, but this is far and away the best game I played this year. It would have given Breath of the Wild a run for its money last year too. It's really, really good. I love it. So I won't say too much more than that because next week my plan is I want us to take a look at kind of the history of God of War. We're going to look at how the whole thing came to be and from the creation of it to how it's morphed into what it is today. And so we're going to take a little look back. It'll be a little spoilery for the other games, but that's okay. We're going to kind of just walk through a little history of God of War, especially considering where we are now with the franchise. Yeah. So that's all I'll say about it for this week. I know you played it for an additional hour. Any other thoughts?
I still think Far Cry 5 is better. I just think Far Cry 5 is a lot more fun. I'm not really having that much fun with God of War. Like I said, from a objective view, I could see why people love it, but from just my personal taste right now, and again, keep in mind, people that are listening, I haven't been really into gaming, so Far Cry 5 is I don't need to think, I just run in and shoot game. And God of War, I keep running into puzzles and stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't want to try. I don't want to move forward until I figure out how to get this chest, but then I can't figure out how to get this chest, and then I'm too lazy to look it up, so I'm like just sitting there. I'm like, well, I can't move forward, and I can't figure it out, so I'm just going to turn the game off. And that's what I do. Most of the time, I'm like, I don't feel like figuring this out.
You know, I'm starting to understand why you don't usually like Metroidvania-style games then.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Because you get to areas of the game that you clearly can't access yet. You're going to have to come back later. And I love that. I like the idea that revisiting this is going to pay off. And boy, it really does. But
so are you saying there's areas in God of War that I can't get to? And so I should just move
There's a lot of areas that you can't get to. Yes, there's a number of somewhat world-changing type events. Not world-changing, but environment-changing events that happen that now you can access stuff you couldn't get to before. Yep.
Maybe I should just move forward.
Certain doors you can't get through, certain chests, so there's no way you can get access to them. Yeah. Yep. It's got a little bit of a Metroidvania.
Probably what it is.
Yeah. aspect to
All
it.
right.
So
I mean, I have a feeling, like I said, I really think it's just me and my mood right now. I think if I was in a normal state, I mean, I haven't hidden in a couple of my posts on Facebook and probably enjoy it a lot more.
okay.
Sorry, I just got a phone call.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it went blank for a second there. All right, yeah, I highly encourage you to continue. The story gets really good. What I love about the story too is that it stays fairly, I guess you can say, localized. They don't do this giant world-ending event that Kratos and his son have to help fight against. It stays very personal, at a very personal level, and the characters you interact with are interesting. There's interesting connections that are made later that you didn't know about before. There's some cool reveals throughout the game, and even at the end, there's some cool stuff shown off. And at the very end, even after the credits have rolled, it's kind of a unique way the credits roll, which is cool. Um, if you choose, there's a way to activate a little secret ending scene. It's very easy to figure out how to do it. It's right there in your missions log. Although the credits have rolled, there's a little mission that pops up on your journey. You go follow where it says to go, and then you get one last scene that really clues you into what's coming next. So they did a really good job with it. There's a ton more that I want to learn about and explore in this world, and new characters to meet, and other deities that they have yet to introduce in that whole Norse mythology. There's a ton going on there. So I absolutely love it, and I'm gonna keep doing some of the side stuff. I've defeated 3 of the Valkyries now, which are super tough, very Souls-esque bosses that take a lot of tries. I've heard from many people that they compare to some of the easier Souls bosses. They're not like a mega boss, but the idea of they're very tough. You have to learn their patterns. You're gonna die quick if you're not careful. You have to be patient because they'll take you out quick, and each of them is a little bit different. So anyway, very, very good game. One of my favorites in a while, to be honest with you. I love it. So we'll talk more about that next time around. I'm also playing a little bit of this game on the Switch, of course, and I gotta tell you, it's a little disappointing. I thought the art style looked cool. The gameplay looked like it would be a really fast-paced platformer, kind of puzzle platformer. I was thinking like maybe in the Celeste realm. It kind of had a Limbo-esque or Ori in the Blind Forest-esque visual look to it. And the visuals are cool, but not breathtaking. Like Ori and the Blind Forest was just gorgeous, and it doesn't.
What game is it?
It's called Lightfall. So
White trash.
the visuals are good. The game does not control nearly as well as something like Celeste. There's a reason why Celeste is so loved by platforming fans, and that's because it controls perfectly.
Because of feminism, that's why.
Because of feminism, of course, and it sheds lights on issues that we all needed to discuss, obviously. But also because the platforming in Celeste is really second to none. It controls perfectly. And Lightfall does not have that same precision. So there's lots of floatiness, and for a game that's so fast paced, the floatiness is kind of tough to adjust to. So anyway, I might keep playing it, but for $15, I feel like I kind of wasted some money there. I had some money to spend on the eShop, and I wish I would have spent it on something else. Bad move. I should have grabbed Faye or something like that. But
yeah, you should have just bought a game on the PS4 for me that I wouldn't
should have
played.
done that. But you're not playing games right now anyway, so why would I do that? So that's all I've been playing. It's mostly been God of War stuff, and I've really been digging that game quite a bit. So, and you've been playing on your phone a lot, you said? Some Pokemon Go?
Pokemon, no, and I did play a little bit of Jade Empire on the Xbox One X. I gotta say, dude, that looks really good. I think they did the whole 4K. I didn't look into it, so if one of our listeners knows, they can post and tell me. But I booted up Jade Empire, which is an original Xbox game, on the Xbox One X, and I'm pretty sure it's in 4K. It looks really clear. Still looks like an original Xbox game, but it looks like the PC version. So I was real excited about that because I'm like, finally, I have a version of Jade Empire that actually works, because I own that game like 18 times. Or 18 versions of it, and every single version I own except this Xbox One X version doesn't work right. Like the controls are all screwed up. Like my PC, anytime I plug a controller in, the camera goes in circles, so you can't even control the game. So I think I'm gonna actually try to replay this, and I just saw a post like on Facebook that Knights of the Old Republic 2 is now backwards compatible on the
Nice.
Xbox One X. So
Very
they're
cool.
really making me happy right now.
Yes, they are.
Oh,
Good for
yeah.
them.
That's why I'm topless. Really happy about all this.
It's interesting that I'm really glad that you're throwing love towards the Xbox stuff because it's so easy. I love to give Xbox gamers a hard time and tease them about the lack of first party stuff. Tease Nintendo about the lack of the ability to do 4K, whatever else, and all of that. And I think it's okay to be able to poke fun between companies because I feel like you and we have maybe our preferences at different times, but for the most part, we just enjoy good games on whatever the system is.
Yeah, I don't really care.
And so I like to poke fun at people who are Sony diehards, Nintendo diehards, and Xbox diehards. But people are really sensitive about that right now. Whenever there's been a lot of memes going around where it'll show like I don't know, Aloy teaching Kratos or teaching Atreus how to shoot, and Kratos is instructing him or something where they're showing all the the PlayStation exclusive characters, and then it's some kind of shot at Xbox, or one of those things where half of it is a picture of God of War and it says God of War on PS4, God of War on Xbox is just a black screen. Really dumb, cheesy jokes, but people are getting legitimately upset to the point where companies are releasing official apologies about it, and I think that's pretty ridiculous. Like, we can't even joke anymore. Like, we're really that sensitive. We're really that sensitive now that we can't even joke around.
I am very sensitive. Like, I got so offended at the God of War. That's actually why I'm not playing the God of War game.
Yeah, it's a little too much.
Until they patch it onto the Xbox One X, I see no reason to play
I assume the problem you have with it is all of the toxic masculinity that's going on in there. Did I say that right?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very toxic.
Well, I just don't understand why Kratos couldn't be a woman.
Or why he doesn't have a daughter. Why is it father and son? That's too many men in one
That's true.
story.
True.
Oh, boy. What a sad state of affairs we all live in. All right, let me go through some quick news headlines here real quick. Derek, you might have missed a few of these since you've been your life has been quite busy these days. So let me fill you in on some stuff that's been happening. Okay. The most important one is that Nintendo's partnering up with a company called Cygames to develop their next mobile title. And it's called Dragalia Lost. It's an original IP, old school story-driven RPG, JRPG specifically, coming to mobile. So that's Nintendo's next mobile game after Mario Kart Tour, which I think is going to come out in the next 12 months. So there you go. There's something to play on your phone.
I'm actually buying Knights of the Old Republic 2 right now for $10 on the Xbox.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to play it, but I am buying it.
Yeah, just purchase it because it feels good to own that stuff, even if you don't play it. Just own it.
And it is Xbox One X enhanced.
Good. You can see all the 15-year-old pixels in 4K.
You should play some of these good games. You'd actually appreciate some.
What are you talking about? Yeah, you're right.
Never played them.
Did you happen to watch the new trailer, the reveal trailer for Shadow of the Tomb Raider? Came out this week.
No, I didn't.
So I watched the trailer for the upcoming, I guess it's the third main game in the rebooted Tomb Raider franchise. And it was just a CG cutscene trailer. Nothing of gameplay was shown there, although I do believe the game has been shown in playable form at different conferences or different events. But for our sakes, for most of the audience, we have not seen it in action yet. The cutscenes look very familiar. Is Lara Croft running around being sneaky and taking out the squad of soldiers. And there, it kind of looks like it's in the Mayan ruins type of area. And there's some sort of, stab a guy in the heart ritual happening, and she goes there to interrupt it. And then she stands there in front of this huge crowd. And so I'm not sure if they're going to incorporate maybe Mayan or Incan type mythology in there. Could be interesting. But from what I can tell, just from a CG trailer, who knows what the game will play like, but I imagine it's going to be a lot more Tomb Raider, and I'm very excited for it in September. So looks good.
I will definitely be purchasing that.
Yeah.
I was hoping that the Xbox One X version was also going to be on their Windows, but I don't think it is.
Okay.
But I don't do research anymore because I don't know anything.
Yeah, don't bother. Research is for losers. All right.
Hey, I used to do all that.
That's true. That's very true.
I'm distracted. Let me focus.
No, don't keep looking the other direction. This is an entertaining show for the listeners. All right, so the rumor that I've heard this week, I don't know if it's true. I think I saw it on Twitter, is that Fortnite is coming to Switch. It's one of those rumors that even if it's not a real rumor, it seems like a natural fit.
Yeah.
Switch, it's already on phones, and by the way, it apparently already surpassed $25 million made in 30 days on the phone on mobile. That's crazy.
Wow.
So the Fortnite developers are raking in the money on mobile alone, and I think it'll do well on Switch. Mobile is where it's going to make most of its money long term, but if it can run on a phone, it can run on a Switch. So that'll be interesting to see. I wonder if it's going to be, if they'll have a free mode to play, but then you have to pay for additional, kind of like the standard version. So we'll see what they do with Fortnite on the Switch.
I can confirm Jade Empire is Xbox One X enhanced. So I don't
really?
understand. So I don't understand why you don't own an Xbox One X right now, because you could have Jade Empire, Knights of the Old Republic, Xbox One X enhanced.
Wow.
4K, native 4K.
Yeah. I could also have, more importantly, I could have Red Dead Redemption enhanced to Xbox One X. And that one I'm actually interested in. The other ones you mentioned, not super interested in playing again. Sorry. Or at all.
You're a terrible person.
I know. Hey, the PS4, speaking of Xbox One X, the PS4 sales are in, and it has sold 79 million as of the end of March. That is nearly surpassing, and probably by this point, now that we're almost in May, nearly surpassing the PlayStation 3 lifetime sales of 80 million. And it didn't hit 80 million until 2013. So I think that took 6 years to get there. So PS4, of course, continues to be an amazing success. So well done for them. Pretty much everyone I talked to that likes video games owns one. So it's pretty. I wonder at what point will it slow down? Who knows? Maybe when they release the PS4 Pro or Pro. More Pro.
I think we're gonna get the PS5.
Probably. Speaking of sales of consoles, the Nintendo released this past week that they are up to 17.8 million sales of their Switch console after 1 year, which of course is on pace to be up there with some of the best-selling consoles of all time. Who knows if they'll maintain the breakneck pace with which they sold in the first year. It was a crazy first year with Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8, and then you had Splatoon 2, which was a surprise hit. Even though it's not a big game for me, it sold incredibly well. And of course, Mario Odyssey. And a lot of the bigger name small games like Stardew Valley and others and Minecraft, they sold like crazy on this system. I think they have like 68 million software sales. So the system is doing incredibly well. The big test now is hitting its sophomore year. This is when I think it's make or break time. They've got some interesting re-releases coming up. Hyrule Warriors, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is coming out soon. Captain's Toad Treasure Tracker comes out this summer. So there's a few interesting re-releases, but it's really we're gonna see how successful the system is with stuff like Mario Tennis, Octopath Traveler, and then of course later this fall, I assume Smash Brothers. So we'll see if they can maintain their sales. And by the way, if they happen to somehow put out an original new Pokemon game between now and let's say even next spring, the next 12 months, I don't think they'll have any trouble maintaining their sales pace for this system.
Yeah.
If they put out a brand new Pokemon game, every kid who doesn't currently own one will own one in the next 12 months. So it'll be crazy if they do that. So there you go. There's some sales numbers for you.
You always got to throw your stupid Switch stats in there. Nobody cares about the Switch.
Everyone cares about the Switch, okay? Everyone does.
Nobody cares about the Switch.
Yeah. Every 4 PS4 owners, one of them owns a Switch. That's pretty good.
And how many people own an Xbox One X?
Probably 1 out of every 2. I think they're right about half. Maybe a little less than half. Maybe a third. So Switch is ahead of Xbox One in terms of its first year pacing. It'll be interesting to see if they can maintain that. We shall see. All right, I need to take a quick break, and assuming Derek is still awake and or somewhat clothed, we will continue shortly. All right, so apparently we're going to take a quick break. I meant we're going to take a week-long break. Derek and I both had just one of those times. Well, for me, I got interrupted that night and really couldn't get back to recording. And then both of us have had very busy weeks for different reasons.
Yeah.
And so here we are a week later. We just had to skip last week. So I heard 0 from anybody. So that confirms we have no listeners.
Nobody cared.
No one cared. But for those of you who do listen, I do appreciate your patience with us. And so we're going to get right back to it now. I do want to add a couple things I've been playing since last we recorded the first half of this episode. And I know Derek will approve of one of them at least. So first of all, I'll just mention I did buy Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Switch. And I am almost at the end of the first area, the first world in that game. And it's just more awesome Donkey Kong Country goodness. It's just really fun. Is it groundbreaking? No. But is it really good? Yeah. And it looks great, runs great on the Switch. I've played it in docked mode and handheld. I haven't done multiplayer yet, but the kids and my wife all want to play it. So it is really fun. And I don't know for everyone if it's worth $60 price tag. But when I traded in a few games and used Gamer Club Unlocked, I bought it for like $28, I think. So for me, it was totally worth it because it's a new game to me. I never had a Wii U, as I've said many times. So there you go. I've been playing that.
I thought it was good on the Wii U, but I didn't get real far because it gets really difficult. Really difficult.
Yeah, it's notorious for having a high difficulty spike at certain parts. So we'll see if that remains true. It does right out of the gate ask, do you want to play this in Funky Kong mode, where you can actually use Funky Kong to help more? And I think they give you like 2 additional hearts.
Yeah.
So it just makes things a lot easier. But anyway, we'll see if I need to switch back and do that. But speaking of difficult games, I've been playing a lot of Bloodborne this week. So after finishing God of War, and then I did a bunch of the side stuff. There's 2 realms in there that are completely optional. They're basically challenge realms. And I didn't complete those all the way because they both culminate in a fight with these optional bosses. There's 9 Valkyries in the world. And both of those 2 realms culminate with a battle against one of them. I tried both of those, got killed on my first try, and haven't gone back to try it again. I kind of feel like I'm at the point in God of War where I've done all the major side stuff that has any kind of story elements. I've done, I've unlocked a ton of stuff, a whole bunch of gear. I feel like I've upgraded a lot. I've explored every area. I just haven't defeated every optional boss or challenge. And I feel okay about that for right now. I'm not, as you know, I'm not a completionist. So I feel mostly done with God of War, and I loved it. We'll talk about where I rank it here in a second, but I love God of War. So coming out of that, it's pretty challenging in its combat system at times. It has a little bit of a Dark Souls, Bloodborne-esque vibe to it, especially with the way the buttons are mapped. So I thought, hey, if I'm in this mode and I'm really digging this, now might be as good a time as any to try one of these From Software games that all you guys won't shut up about. So I already had Bloodborne downloaded, sitting there in my little backlog folder on the PS4. So I fired it up, and for some reason my save wasn't even there anymore. I don't know, maybe I deleted it. So I thought I'd just pick up. I think I had just gotten right up to the Cleric Beast last time I played it, and I was about to fight it. But this time I had no save, so I went ahead and started over, picked a strength build, and went from there. And I have put in a lot of time into that game. I'm not sure how much, but a lot. I am 1, 2, 3. I guess 3 bosses in. I think I'm about to hit that 4th boss, and it's really good. Hashtag Derek was right. Bloodborne.
About time.
Bloodborne is really good. Now, if we ever go back and revisit 2015 to re-rank stuff, it still doesn't, and my personal taste, it still doesn't topple stuff like The Witcher 3 or God of War that I just played. But if we were to re-rank 2015, it would definitely crack that top 10. I just don't know where. I'll have to get farther in the game and kind of.
Excuse me. I think you got to just keep playing it, and if you get addicted to that adrenaline rush you get for beating bosses, especially by yourself, you're not co-oping it. I take.
I haven't yet. No.
Okay. Or asking for help. Yeah, when you start beating them by yourself, and all of them, that's when it gets, I don't know, addicting to me, because it's such a challenge, but it's also fun when you accomplish that challenge. So even though I know you were talking about, I saw your post saying how it kind of gets redundant, like I've been in the same area for a while, but it's an RPG, and so you replay these certain areas to get stronger, to then go face the bosses to make it a little bit easier when you fight
Right.
them. And
Yeah.
and I really appreciate that because that gives you it never makes you OP. Like even if you were to stay in one area for like 30 hours, you might be real strong, but that doesn't mean you're going to beat the boss in like 1 or 2 hits. You're still going to have to fight the boss just like
You still got to
everybody
figure
else.
out their attack patterns and when to dodge. Like
you can
I've had to
still easily
shift
dodge.
out of a mode where I'm just, as soon as I see them move to attack, I just dodge. That doesn't work. You'll still get hit. You have to actually time your rolls and the dodges and all that kind of stuff perfectly. So it certainly is challenging, and I can attest to that. A couple of the cleric beast and the blood starved beast, right? That's the name of that one in the chapel there, or in the cathedral. Those two I was able to beat on the first try. Certain types of enemies in certain games, I think we all are just better at than other types, like that Vicar Amelia, whatever. She took me like 6 tries. She was really tough for me for some reason. So certain enemy types.
Because she can heal herself and you barely do damage to her.
Okay. Oh, so I guess I'm
like
on the 5th boss now because I beat Father Gascoigne, however you say his name. He was super easy. I was
really
like
surprised to hear you say that, because especially since he's technically mandatory boss, but he's really the second one most people fight. He's not easy when you're that early in the game if you're not very good at the game. He's obviously easier for me now, but when I first started playing, I think I beat him. I think it only took me a few tries, but he was still difficult. And the only reason why I was able to beat him pretty quickly is because I watched a guy beat him, so I kind of had a strategy going in. If I went in completely blind with him, he probably would have raped me for a while, because he's just so fast and chaotic. And sometimes you can get stuck on stuff because there's just a bunch of tombs and stuff there.
Yeah.
So you can get stuck when you think you're going to, dodge out of the way completely, but then you run into a tree or a tomb and then he slaps you in the face. So that's how, plus he can shoot long range and all that. But yeah.
So I stayed up close to him the whole time. I'm using the weapon, the Kirk hammer, and I love the ability to swap back and forth between a one-handed sword that's super fast, and then of course this two-handed hammer that is slow but very powerful.
You'll like the Ludwig, because all that is a heavy sword that you can actually take out, and you have a small fast sword. So it's just like the Kirk hammer. It's just the actual Ludwig sword. It has better range.
Sure, that makes sense.
Longer.
When I played
I don't think it takes as long to strike as well. I think it's faster than the Kirk hammer.
Okay. Yeah, when I played Monster Hunter World, of course, my weapon of choice was hammer. So I'd gotten used to that cumbersome but powerful weapon that you have to really time. Like every hit, super important. So I've been playing it similar to that. Like when I'm fighting the big monsters in Monster Hunter World, I've been fighting these bosses a little bit similarly. Some of the enemies are super quick, and so you have to remove the hammer element and just start slicing away with the sword. But I've taken advice that I've read over the years, and that is kind of pick a few stat areas to really focus on, get really powerful in strength or vitality, that kind of combo. Don't try to spread it all out, or you'll really never be great in any one area. So I went all strength and vitality, so I can take a bunch of hits, but I can also hit really hard. So it's a really good game. I can't pretend like it's not. Part of me wants to like troll everybody and bash this game, but it is a really good game, and I think its combat system is second to none. There might be others that are equivalent to it, and based on your personal taste, I suppose. But it just nails it. It just nails that whole aspect. It does not have the sense. I don't have the sense of wonder and exploration, but that's not what this game is for. So if you're all about open world and discovering, and there are some scenic moments, don't get me wrong. The visuals can be pretty cool at times, but it's really not meant for that. It's very dark. There's lots of jump scares. It actually kind of has not a survival horror, but a horror vibe to it, because these creatures are truly terrifying, and the bosses make horrible noises as you're battling them, especially Vicar Amelia. Dude, that sound stuck because I had to fight her like 6 times. I hated that sound by the end. I was like, I have to beat her just to make her shut up. This is the worst noise. So anyway,
I'm glad you actually tried it though, and you're now kind of hooked on it, which is good.
I am enjoying it, and I don't see myself stopping necessarily, like especially because there's not a major release coming up really for the next 2 weeks. And even then it's Detroit Become Human, and I'm not 100% sold on that. I think it looks great. I just don't know if that's a game that's I'm going to drop everything for. So yeah, this is Bloodborne is kind of hitting at the perfect time where there's not a lot on the horizon now that I finished, Far Cry 5 is done, God of War is done. Really what else is there until you get to E3 in summertime? There's not a ton. There's a few things like, State of Decay 2, but there's just not a ton. So so that's what I've been playing in addition to Donkey Kong Country. 2 very difficult games, but I made this post in a couple of the larger groups that I'm in on Facebook, and it was interesting. I've been thinking about my gaming this year. It's almost always been 2 games partnered together, and it's usually one PS4 game and then one either Switch or Xbox One game. So it's been really interesting this year the way I've had things like Celeste and Monster Hunter World at the same time. I had stuff like Shadows of the Colossus and Bayonetta at the same time. Far Cry 5, I played Sea of Thieves at the same time. And so right now I'm playing Bloodborne and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. So I like having 2 very different flavor games going on at the same time, especially because my TV is not always available with the family our size. So it's nice to have the Switch option as well. So anyway, it's been an interesting year for gaming for me, and that especially considering, and you're not the only one, guys like you are this is one of those years that you just haven't gotten nearly as much gaming in as usual just because of all sorts of different circumstances. But I feel like I've played a lot more games this year than probably any past year I can think of. Like I've played a lot this year. So anyway, I'm making up for all the time you're missing.
I just threw my phone.
You just got really mad about the idea of me playing more games than you.
I just flicked it off me. Yeah, I mean, I think if I wasn't going through so many personal things, I would be gaming more. But right now, I have personal. What the hell's wrong with my camera? What is going on? Why do it's like the camera's broke. Oh. So, never mind. Like, what is this camera doing?
You're having some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, so I was just saying, like, if I wasn't going through personal stuff, I probably would be gaming more. I don't know. But nothing's clicked. Like, I started God of War, probably still 6 or 7 hours into it.
I still can't believe that, man, because that game, I think it hits every note that you normally like in a game.
Yeah, I just don't care right now.
Yeah.
And I always think about it. I'm like, hey, you should go, because, I'm trying to keep my mind busy. Like, that's the thing people say when you're going through, like, personal stuff. Keep your mind busy. But every time I try to play games, it doesn't keep my mind busy. I'm still so distracted by thoughts that it's hard to focus on the game, so I always quit the game.
Yeah, Kratos would not approve of that. He would want you to focus, boy.
So I've been trying to watch sports and stuff like that, but even that, I'll just be watching and I'll be like, yeah, my mind's wandering. I need to get out. So that's why I exercise more. I think it's the connection with music and stuff like that. So that's what I'm doing right now. But I can say this for those who care. I think good things are coming, and I think I'm praying I will be out of my little funk, because I really feel bad. I know most of the people that listen to us are our friends, so I think they are understanding to what I'm going through, especially since a lot of them know what I'm going through. But at the same time, I don't want to do this podcast if every week I'm like, well, I'm not gaming and I'm borderline depressed. Like, I want to eventually get through this and get myself back. Like, I like being funny. I like having fun. I just want my normal life back, and that's kind of what I'm fighting for right now. So for those who pray, please pray for me. And for those who hate my God, then don't pray to him because you hate him. But, you can think of me, I guess. I don't know what that does, but
the positive vibes, dude. We all want that for you, and so we're. That's why I'm still up for recording the show. I love, of course, talking about video games. I can bounce my annoying ideas off of you and let you shoot them down. That's really what people tune in for. Is I start most episodes super optimistic, and then I end with my hopes and dreams crushed, and that's really what it's all about. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
But no, everyone that I've talked to, everyone that knows you there, we're all pulling for you, and there's a lot of patience and grace out there for you. So don't feel too self-conscious about that.
Well, apparently there is, because nobody cared you didn't record a show last week.
I think everyone just kind of assumed, because you had already shared a little bit, like, hey, things are getting kind of crazy. I'll try to, and we had to have Daniel fill in the other week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people are understanding. So don't sweat that part too much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But the good news is one of our main topic
Right.
for this week really has nothing to do with current games. And even the games that I'm playing are 2 games that released a while ago. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the Wii U for a while. Bloodborne has now been out for 3 years.
Yeah, but people like when you talk about Bloodborne, so
They do.
If they do listen, they will enjoy the fact that you're talking about Bloodborne.
That's true. But so there's really not a lot. I mean, other than I could talk about God of War all day. I actually kind of want, when you do finally get to it, I want to do a spoiler cast, because for those who have played it, there's just a lot to discuss in that game, especially the ending and just the stuff they do in that. It's just really good. So when you do get around to God of War, I want us to do some sort of spoiler cast chat, because it is really good.
Well, I think I would like to. I mean, I can't predict my week, but I am going to try to start doing my normal things, and normal things would be to start gaming again. So I am going to attempt to try to play God of War. I might even try to play it tonight after we record the show, just to see if I can move forward in it and then kind of get hooked to it again.
Okay. Well, and if nothing else, just keep your ambiguously gay posts between you and Sasan going. Just keep those rolling. And you and I need to finish A Way Out. So
I know we keep talking about it, and I keep not showing up.
I'm being as patient as I can, but I'm ready to find a way out, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
might need to find another man. That's what you're saying.
That is what I'm saying. Yeah, I might have to do that. I'll get on some sort of class. I'll get on. There's got to be some sort of Tinder for gamers, right? For gay gamers.
I think so.
There's got to be.
I think it's called Sasan app.
Hashtag that. All right. So what we're going to do right now to close out our show this week, this episode, is to talk about our top 25 games of all time. So,
okay.
Derek, even though you are deep in the bowels of the earth and your secret hideaway bunker, do you have access to your top 25 list?
I do.
Okay.
You just wanted me to do a recap real quick all the way up to what, 11?
Well, so you missed our 15 through 11. So give us a quick recap of 25 to 16, and then just give us quick reasoning for 15 through 11. And by the way, we do plan on having Daniel Freitas back on the show in the future, hopefully with Derek too. And he's going to give us the rest of his top 25, because he gave us up through 11 as well. So he needs to give us his top 10 as well. But for right now, you're going to catch us up, remind us 25 through 16, then catch us up on your 15 up to 11, and then you and I will announce our official 10 through 6 of all time.
All right, so at 25 is Death Row, 24 Twisted Metal, 23 Borderlands 2, 22 Borderlands, 21 Mortal Kombat 9, 20 Mortal Kombat 2, 19 Dragon Age Origins, 18 Jade Empire, 17 Dragon Age Inquisitions, 16 Mass Effect 2. And then my 15 through 11 is number 15, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Nice.
And then we go back to BioWare. 14.
Well, before you do that, I'm kind of surprised by that one, actually. Why is Horizon so high for you?
I mean, I played it last year twice, and so I don't know. It's one of those games, like the first time I played it, I liked it a lot, but I wasn't like game of the year. In fact, I was the Zelda Breath of the Wild. I was on that bandwagon. But then I went back and played it. I played the DLC, so it's still a game that brings me back. I'm not saying I won't ever go back to like Zelda Breath of the Wild. I probably will, but I have yet to go back to that. Like once I finished that, I explored a little bit and then I stopped. But Horizon is something I could even see me potentially doing a third playthrough. So it's just one of those games that I love the world. I love the characters. It's not perfect objectively or even subjectively, but I really enjoyed my time. I put a good amount of hours into that.
And you played Frozen Wilds, right?
Yep. I played that when it released.
Pretty solid story DLC there on the side.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. So number 14, Mass Effect. This is, I mean, it's actually kind of low compared to where thought I would have put this originally. But you know, you don't always know. All right, hold on one second. Yeah.
Do you have a Bible?
Yeah, on my phone.
You want a regular one?
Yeah, you can give me one.
Reading the Psalms. I gotta fix that bed tomorrow. Put a sheet on.
Okay.
Start with 30 and go on through.
All right, I'm recording right now, Dad. So sorry about that.
No problem.
Pops wants to know if I need a Bible.
Hey, by the way, how come you don't have that same charming Southern accent that he does?
Because I don't even know if I'm really his son.
Oh my gosh.
The funny thing is like none of his kids, all three of us, none of us act like him at all. But as I'm going through, him and I were sitting out on the porch and we were talking, and we both looked up at each other when we were talking, and we said, well, the one good thing about this is we're getting to know each other. And it's not that my father wasn't there for me. My father was always there for me. But I'm kind of closed off, and he is too. And I'm also discovering that I'm more like him than I realized. I thought I was always more like my mom. But there's a lot of things him and I have in common. So it's been actually nice, like, hanging out with him. And by the way, that's my secret bunker. I'm with my dad. But it's kind of nice. He's dealing with the death of his wife, his best friend, and I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with my marriage and all that. So it's nice to be able to connect. But
yeah,
I don't know why I talked about that, but yeah, none of us act like him. None of us have his accent. None of us like fishing or NASCAR racing. None of us. We all think the stuff he likes is stupid. So number 14's Mass Effect. Yeah, poor guy. Number 14's Mass Effect. Again, I would have thought originally this would be higher. I'm a huge BioWare fan. Mass Effect is one of my favorite franchises. And I really like the first one.
14's pretty high though, man. I don't know. That's pretty high.
It's high, but I would have thought if you would have asked me, what's your top 25 without like writing it down, I would have probably said it's top 10.
Gotcha.
But it has a good villain, has a good story, good universe. So yeah, definitely worthy.
And it was a really good first entry in what is now, of course, a very popular franchise. But it was brand new IP, so it was really good.
Gameplay wise, it's more RPG than the other Mass Effect games. So you'll hear a lot of people crap on it because they're like, the shooting mechanics are terrible. But I'll tell you this, I really think BioWare did that on purpose because they wanted it to play kind of like how their Knights of the Old Republic games are.
Yeah.
Like you don't hit the attack button with Knights of the Old Republic and you're automatically going to get a hit. It's all dice rolling mechanics, and I think they kind of did the same thing with the original Mass Effect. They're like, yeah, you can point the gun and you can hit the shoot button, but we're rolling dice behind the scenes to whether you're going to actually hit this enemy. And so a lot of people have a problem with that because they're like, well, this is terrible shooting mechanics, but that's really not what the game was about. But that's a side point.
That's one that I never got super far in. I think I played maybe 10 hours of that and my longest attempt to play through. I just never really clicked with the combat, which is why I never played 2 or 3. But as you know, I did play Andromeda and loved it.
Yeah,
so.
And 2 and 3 are definitely better. They have better shooting mechanics. They clearly changed it up for the players who complained about it. So, and that's actually what I'm going to talk about next. Number 13 is Mass Effect 3. This game gets crapped on a lot, especially for the ending, and I've said this 1,000 times. I'm going to say it again. Mass Effect 3, the entire game is the ending. You're saying goodbye to characters the entire game. You're watching the entire universe be destroyed the entire game. So it's actually one of my favorite games. Especially in the Mass Effect trilogy, it is my favorite one. The gameplay is smooth. It's the best in the franchise until Andromeda came out. But what I really, really liked about it was the way they basically ended the game. And I'm talking, again, the ending as in the entire game, not the actual ending of Mass Effect 3. The actual ending of Mass Effect 3, I didn't have huge issues with. I actually thought it was good. I thought the way they did it was fine. I liked the mystery behind it, but I'm a I'm a big mystery person. Like, I like when you leave me with a cliffhanger. I don't always need answers. Unless you're going to say, this is the final game we're making, then sure, um, I might want a solid ending without the cliffhanger, but the way they did it in Mass Effect 3, I was okay with it. Like,
Okay.
It kind of ended like you would end a Christopher Nolan movie.
Okay.
Like, hey, the movie actually ended, but here's this one scene that makes you go, oh wait, and then they never answer it. So number 12 is actually Mass Effect Andromeda, so that's going to probably surprise people that I would put that as my top Mass Effect game. But again, going based off gameplay, it's definitely king. I actually like the open worlds or planets a lot as well. I thought the story was really good. Am I going to say it's better than the trilogy? No, but I liked a lot of the characters. I thought the story was really good. I love some of the mysteries that you unlock about your father, all this stuff, and your mom. So I thought there was a ton of stuff in this game, even with the side quests, that were just as intriguing, if not more intriguing, than the Mass Effect trilogy. But what ultimately put that game above the other three for me is I just thought it was way more fun to play. I think it's the best Mass Effect game when it comes to not only the action and the shooting, but also the RPG elements. Were really, really well
It was
done.
very fun. I mean,
Yeah, it's just a fun game.
it was
I
a
love
really
it.
fun game. Yeah.
And then my final one, until you and I go back and forth on number 10, but here at number 11 is Final Fantasy 15. This is
Nice.
another one that I was really hyped for this game, but I was a little nervous for it because I don't always finish Final Fantasy games. In fact, before 15, I think I finished Final Fantasy 10, and that might be the only one. I played a lot of 12. I played a lot of 13, but I got stuck. So yeah, 15 is the only one or 10 was the only one I had finished before 15. The 15 was perfect for me. I mean, it was that combination of Final Fantasy, but it really took on a new look and feel with not only being open world, but also the action RPG elements of it.
Yeah.
And it's got some of the most fun combat that I've played.
Super fun. Yeah.
I thought the characters were good. I thought the story, while it has some weak points, like some of the story missions were kind of like, oh, this is stupid. I still overall thought the story was good. I thought
So did
it
I.
ended awesome.
Yeah. No, I haven't done any of the extra add-on stuff, so I have no idea. I know they filled in some blanks, whatever else. I've ignored all that. I just played the base game, start to finish, and even though yes, there's plenty of things that are left on the table, that's how most video game stories go. Not all, but most. So I thought it was fine. I liked it.
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy 15 is a great game. I think I will definitely replay it at some point, maybe on PC, and I'll do the Royal Edition, so I'll get all the extra stuff. But yeah, it's definitely worthy of my top 15, so I put it at 11.
Nice. All right, here's a recap of my 25, working up to number 10, and then we'll get going for this week. So it starts with number 25, Telltale's The Walking Dead, Season 1. Number 24 was Advance Wars. Number 23, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. Number 20. No, I changed that. I'm sorry. Assassin's Creed Origins. I need to change that on my list here. I keep forgetting that. 23 is Assassin's Creed Origins. 22 is Grand Theft Auto 5. 21 is ActRaiser. By the way, that's one rare occasion where the sequel definitely did not surpass the original, because ActRaiser 2 was garbage. Number 20 was Final Fantasy 9. Number 19 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Number 18 is Fire Emblem Awakening. Number 17 was Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And then this is where some things have been shifted around. I've had a few weeks now since we've done our list, and I actually just made a change last week. Formerly, number 16 was God of War. That's now been moved.
Yeah.
So now number 16 is Hitman 2, Silent Assassin. Number 15 is Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. Number 14 is now Super Mario World. Number 13, Red Dead Redemption. I know you and I didn't talk about these at all, but I'm just flying through them here. Number 12, this was formerly number 11, but number 12 is now NCAA football, 14 being the most recent. But it's just one of my favorite series, and so I'll just go with the most recent iteration. I love NCAA football. And the new number 11, moving up from 16, is God of War, specifically the 2018 one. It has cracked my top 25 of all time. I truly love this game. It is so good. So I already loved that series. I had the original God of War in there at number 16. This has now replaced that as my favorite, not only in the franchise, but in my top 25. And it's moved up above some of these other ones. I just did like a comparison side to side, which is better, this or this, this or this. And it just barely beat NCAA football in the grand scheme of things, but didn't quite crack the top 10. So
Okay. Not bad.
I love it. Now you are selecting more, in general, more recent games, and I tend to lean more towards old school Super Nintendo type stuff. But I think as I'm listening to our lists, we have a more variety than I thought at first. Like you've got games that are a little bit older than I realized. Things like Jade Empire, and even the first Mass Effect is now 10 years old. So
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. So here we are into the top 10 of our favorite games of all time. We're going to start with Derek with your number 10. What made the cut?
We're going to go with BioShock.
Nice.
This is one of my favorite first-person shooters of all time. I remember when I originally played it, the twists in this game, there's multiple twists that I didn't see coming that just blew my mind. The atmosphere, the world, it's very scary while not being... It never felt like I was playing like Resident Evil or The Evil Within, so it's not like that scary, but there's a creepiness factor
Absolutely.
that can make it very unsettling.
Yep.
Especially the first time I played it through. After that, I kind of got used to it and knew how or what was coming. But it's still a really, really, really good game. One of my favorites, and I'd like to revisit it every once in a while. In fact, recently I think I did it this year. I beat BioShock 2 earlier this year. So I like to go back to the BioShock franchise quite often just to replay them, to re-experience them. But yeah, nice. It's worthy of 10.
That is a good pick. Yeah, that game is, it still holds up too, by the way, for those of you who, for some reason, if you've skipped it, BioShock still holds up as a great, yes, it's a first-person shooter, but it also has some kind of exploration elements to it, adventure-type elements to it, and it truly is a good horror story. So it's not just gross out the whole time. So don't think, like if you think of a horror game as something like Silent Hill or Outlast or whatever else, that's fine. Those are good too, but it's not like that. It's got some scary stuff in it. Some of it is kind of grotesque, but it's not meant to gross you out. It's telling a story. That's very, very interesting.
Yep.
Good pick. All right. For me, number 10, another very recent game, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Nice.
Is my 10th favorite game of all time, just beating out God of War. So we talked a lot about Breath of the Wild last year through our Game of the Year discussion, as well as just throughout the year, various episodes when one of us would have played it a little bit more. Obviously, we both love this game. I think Breath of the Wild, it's easy for people who maybe didn't play it all the way or just have a penchant for other franchises. It's easy for them to hate on it for saying, the combat is better in a lot of other games. Well, yeah, that's true. Some people might say, well, the graphics are better in some open world games. Yeah, and I guess you could say in some cases that's true. There's more realistic looking games. Okay. It feels like a big empty world. There's not a ton of stuff to do. Again, there's some truth to that compared to like a Grand Theft Auto, right? Yeah. So I'm not saying that those criticisms are all way off base, but on the other hand, this game, I mentioned earlier about Bloodborne, it doesn't really have that sense of awe and wonder as you walk out and see everywhere you can explore. This game is the epitome of that, where you can literally go wherever you want, the sense of exploration, adventure, but also a little bit of that fear of everything can kill me. That all is there in that game. And you never know what the environment's going to hold. You never know when all of a sudden your health's going to start depleting because it's too cold or too hot, and you have to find the right armor to combat that. There's so much to do, so much to find. And I think it's just... First of all, it's anyone with a sense of exploration. This is the game for you. If you were a little kid running out into the woods with your buddies and building forts and pretending and using sticks as sword fights or whatever else, this is the kind of game that I think you would enjoy. That was totally me when I was growing up. So I think this game is exactly what I kind of pretend played when I was a kid, and now I can do it on a Switch whenever I want to. So I love this game. I think it does things that no other open world game does in a lot of ways. And sure, if when they do a follow up to this, if they decide to keep that same open world exploration vibe, I would love it if they added some additional combat mechanics that make it feel a little bit more in depth. Now, I still enjoyed the combat. There's some really cool things you can do with parries and blocks and dodges and stuff. There's some cool stuff there. But it's not up to snuff with the Bloodborne or God of War or Witcher 3 in terms of combat. That's fine. That's true. Those things are all true, but it is still excellent. It's one of the best games ever made. And if for some reason you've skipped it and you own a Switch or a Wii U, what are you doing? Go play it right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So number 9.
Number 9, Rocket League, the game that I probably put 500 plus hours in.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's the storyline for Rocket League, Derek? What's
it's got a great plot about 4 tires and a ball. No, I mean the game's just fun. I mean it's the perfect competitive game for me. It's what I like. I've always liked, whenever I play like online multiplayer games, I always lean towards games that require cooperation. Even though that's more frustrating, to be honest with you, it's also, there's something about it I just like. That's why I never really got into Call of Duty games and stuff like that, because even though you can technically cooperate, maybe with a friend, with randoms, you can't really cooperate. They just go their own way, and you just feel like you're playing on your own the whole time. But with like a Rocket League, you rely on your teammates, whether you're playing 2v2, 3v3, 4v4.
Much like soccer or hockey, where you have to be in position for defense and for offense. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you're not playing with a friend and so you're not communicating verbally, you still have to trust that your teammates are smart and they know what they're doing. They understand rotation, stuff like that. But yeah, it's just one of my favorite games to play. It's very casual. It's so easy to go in, just do a 5-minute match. And then if I'm not in the mood of the game, I just stop. And that's usually what I do. I'll turn on like my Xbox or PlayStation, play a match. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not in the mood to play this anymore. But I've also probably put 500 plus. I would imagine it's even higher than that.
I wonder what my hour count on that game is too.
Well, I mean, the game's almost 3 years old, and I've been consistently playing it for 3 years. So
it's still my go-to palate cleanser for whatever I've got going on. Whether I just have a few minutes, like you said, I got 5 minutes to play a quick game, or whether I'm in between games. I don't know what to do. It's kind of like with TV shows. If I don't know what to watch, I'll put on a comedian that I know I like, or an Office episode or something like that. Yeah. This is kind of that go-to like that. I'm with you. All right, my number 9 is Shadow of the Colossus. This game was already at that spot before the remake, and it stays there with the remake. I think it helped me prove, confirm to myself that yes, this is not just nostalgia from whatever that was many years ago. It actually truly is one of my favorite games ever. I really love it. So I don't want to say too much more about it. We've got a whole episode where we talk about Shadow of the Colossus from a couple months back. Mm-hmm. So you can go listen to that if you want to hear my full thoughts on it. But I'll say this. I think it is, Derek might laugh at me for sounding a little over dramatic here, but I think it's one of the best examples you can point non-gamers to of when a game can be artistic. A game can be truly like telling a story. It's fun to play. You can be immersed like a video game, but also it would make a really it's just like a work of art. The art looks great, and the story they tell is really touching and moving without a lot of words that you can understand. Yeah. It's really, really good. So I love this game. There's few better feelings than there's certain monsters where if you don't go in with a guide. I highly recommend, if you haven't played this, don't use a guide, at least not immediately, because the sense of discovering their weak spots and how to defeat these monsters, they're like these giant puzzles in and of themselves. That's what makes the game fun. And if you just look at a guide and read, okay, this is where you have to climb, this is where you have to hold on to. Okay, I got it. I got to shoot him with the arrow there first. You can get through the game that way, but it really doesn't have the same magic as when you discover it on your own, because all the stuff that you need is right there in the game. So anyway, I love it. I think it's a masterpiece. It is a shame that, although I liked Last Guardian did not live up to that studio's capabilities. But this game, I think, is the best thing they've made. So there you go.
Okay.
Shadow of the Colossus. All right, moving on to number 8.
Number 8 is Zelda Breath of the Wild. You already talked about it, so I'm not going to go over it. And we've talked about it a lot in the past episodes. I just enjoyed the sense of exploration. It brought me back to, and I think I said this on one of the episodes when we were talking about the game. It brought me back to feeling like a kid with my cousin and just exploring out. And we had, he had huge land. Like there was swamp area, and then after you get through the swamp area, there was just a bunch of property. And we just used to explore and have fun, and that's kind of what Zelda was, Breath of the Wild. It's this big open area. Um, there wasn't a lot of times where I had an agenda, like I wasn't like, select this mission and go do this. I was just like, let's just explore. And then if I find something, I'll go investigate it. And so that's how I played the game. I took my time, and I ended up really enjoying it.
And I'm with you there because I feel like there's usually something to find. At the very least, you'll find some little environmental puzzle and get a Korok seed, which I don't really care about those, but at least it's something. But other times you'll find a shrine, or you'll find some special item or character to talk to, or maybe a new stable where you can then get a horse. So there's always stuff to discover in there.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep. Good pick. I think that game is a worthy addition to anyone's top 10 if they've played it. All right, number 8 for me, going old school again. Super Mario RPG. This is the game I think I might have spent the most money on this game just as a straight up purchase more than any other game. I spent $80 on the Super Nintendo cartridge for Super Mario RPG back when games were more expensive. I know people like to whine about, wanting games for free or for cheap, or maybe I'll get it when it's 40. I'm guilty of saying this kind of stuff too, by the way. But games used to be way more expensive. We forget that. Anyway, I digress. Super Mario RPG was the first time we had seen Mario and his cast of characters, anyone from the Mushroom Kingdom really, out of their normal platforming element. So we didn't have Mario 64 quite yet. All we had was Super Mario World and Yoshi's Story and things like that. This was brand new. So this was a isometric view where you were controlling Mario on what appeared to be kind of 3D. Obviously it wasn't, but they did a really good job of creating like a 3D isometric world. And then when you hit an enemy, even if you tried to jump on them, it broke to a battle scene, like RPG style, like Final Fantasy style. Like this is really weird. You got actually select attack. You can pick an item, and you can actually hit the button to time your attack or to time your defense to get essentially a critical hit or to block and decrease their attack if you timed it perfectly. And so I figured this out pretty quickly. Like, this is interesting, but I'm right away fighting Bowser, who's got the princess. But then this giant sword falls out of the sky mid-battle, interrupts our battle, shatters the castle in half, and sends everyone flying. And the next thing you know, you're exploring this Mushroom Kingdom in a brand new way, very RPG-like. You're by yourself. You get a mysterious partner. You add another partner. You eventually reunite with some old friends and some old enemies. And you partner up in an RPG party style where you equip them with items, you learn new abilities, you level up, and you fight your way all the way back to the castle to take it back. And it is epic. It's really, really good. It's also very funny. There's some good writing in there too. A lot of the efforts from the Mario RPG team, or at least that vibe, went into the Mario and Luigi games. I liked those, but never really dug them. I think Mario RPG is still the only game of its kind. And of course, it's because Nintendo and Square teamed up for this one. Mm-hmm. And it very much has a Square RPG vibe while maintaining the charm of it. You know what? The first game that I've played since then that maintained the Mario charm and brought in a really new element of fun RPG depth was Mario plus Rabbids from last year. That was the first time since Mario RPG that I felt like this is really a good combination of two companies putting their heads together and creating something truly special. So anyway, I digress. Mario plus Rabbids isn't on my list, but I do love that game. But Super Mario RPG, I've played it through probably 5 times or so. This is back in the day when that's the one game you owned. So I played it a whole bunch, and I love it. And I do think, even though the graphics don't look as crisp as I remember them in my mind, I've replayed it in the last couple of years, it still looks and plays really great. So I highly recommend it to any of you who have skipped that old school game.
All right. I'll go with number 7, and that's Dark Souls 3. This was both on day one, and Dark Souls I didn't really enjoy in the beginning just because I didn't know what the hell I was doing and I just died a lot and I quit. And so I do what everybody does when they suck at the game. It's overrated. Dark Souls 2, I thought it was pretty good, but I didn't still get that hooked. It wasn't until Bloodborne that I got hooked on these style of games, and so when Dark Souls 3 came out, Dark Souls 3 is closer to Bloodborne than it is the first two Dark Souls games as far as the speed and the tempo of the game. It's still a little bit slower than Bloodborne, and it's a little more strategic defensively, but I still loved everything about this game. Again, it gave me that same feeling that we talked about with Bloodborne, and that's every time you defeat a boss, you feel like you accomplished and knocked something out that's very, very difficult. For the most part, most of them are difficult. There's some easy ones, but there were some bosses where I was in shock that I beat them solo. I was like, I thought for sure I would need help on some of them. So a lot of a sense of accomplishment, but definitely one of my favorite games.
Nice. I'll be honest with you. If I can get through Bloodborne, and nothing else is on the horizon, I'm now curious to give Dark Souls one more try, since I kept failing. Oh, okay. I got family walking back in from the grocery store.
All right, let's do 7 and 6 real quick, and we can close it up.
All right, for me, number 7 is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time from the N64 days. I bought this game with the gold case, the gold cartridge. My brother and I played this game nonstop. Love this game, and I highly recommend the 3DS version if you've never played it. It holds up great. It looks and runs fantastic on the 3DS. It was the first time that Zelda went into a 3D world, and they nailed it. It's got a great story with some really cool moments, and then some great boss battles as well. All the boss fights are great. The dungeons are fun, other than the water temple, which is pretty notorious. By the way, in the 3DS version, it's a little bit better. But other than that area, all the dungeons are fun and creative, and you get some great weapons, and it's really, really fun. Hi. Hi. Okay. Apple. Yeah. We got our new little foster girl here. She's been here since Wednesday.
Oh.
How
old is she?
She'll be 2 next month.
Oh, wow.
She's already calling us mommy and daddy. It's crazy. Hey, babe.
That's awesome.
Want to say hi?
Yeah.
Say hi. That's nice. Hi.
Hello.
All right. So that's my number 7, Ocarina of Time. I mean, it was actually kind of tough for me to pick which one I like better, Breath of the Wild or Ocarina of Time. But I love the Zelda series, obviously. Hi. It's just that Ocarina of Time, I think, holds a more nostalgic place. So that gave it the edge over Breath of the Wild for me. So you go ahead. Number 7 for you. No, you're at number 6.
Well, I'm on number 6. I'm going to go with The Last of Us. I think I beat this game 5 times. Main thing I liked about it, I know people praise the story and stuff like that, which I did enjoy. I just didn't absolutely love it. The main thing I loved about the game was I actually really enjoyed the combat. I'm not big on stealth, but I felt like the way they did stealth still had a lot of action to it, and they gave you the freedom of choice. You could go in and completely stealth something or half stealth it, or you could just go in guns blazing if you had enough ammo. Which, for the most case, unless you were playing on super easy, you didn't have enough ammo. But I just liked how the game played. I liked the world. I liked the characters, and ultimately, I did enjoy the story. So I think The Last of Us is a special, special game.
Confession time, I never finished that game.
You're a damn loser.
I know, I'm the worst. I know. That was actually one I highly considered finally going, you know what, I'm going to do it. But then I chose Bloodborne instead. It was actually between those two as I was looking through my backlog of stuff I needed to get to. So anyway, I went Bloodborne instead. Sorry.
That's fine. I'm not mad about that.
Yeah. All right. So for me, number 6, and you and I are sharing a few games in this run of 5 because my number 6 all-time favorite game is Rocket League. Rocket League. Hey, buddy. Thad agrees with me. Rocket League is it nails exactly what it's trying to do. It's trying to be essentially Hot Wheels race cars that play soccer, and it nails it. And that's really crazy to me that they actually hit that, because they maybe in a little bit. The idea, like the core idea behind it is kind of silly. It's the kind of thing you make up when you're a kid and you're bored and your parents won't let you watch a movie. You get your Hot Wheels out, and then there's just a random ball there, and you just create your own. It feels like that type of thing at its core, but they deliver a very sharply executed, fun experience. It's got all the visuals you would want in terms of these cool looking stadiums and the neon flashing lights, and it runs really smoothly, usually, unless you have some lag issues that day. And it's a blast to play with friends. Like you said earlier, you can pick up and play really quickly. So I just think it's truly one of the best. I think it's one of the best games that's ever been made. And for me personally, it's my 6th favorite because just like you said, 3 years after release, it's still my go-to palate cleanser kind of a thing. Yeah.
Good game.
All right. Thad, any other thoughts on Rocket League, buddy?
It's really fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. I agree. That's smart. All right. Well, that does it for us for this week. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Derek, for making it work. And we'll be back. We'll get to our top 5 here in the next couple of weeks at some point. So that's it. Thad, do you want to say anything to everybody?
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. See you, man.
Who is your daddy?
I am the father. You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?